Alright, what's going on, guys? So, all of the assault rifles in Cold War Zombies recently got a pretty significant buff with the latest update, and I have since then went and used all of the ARs and really determined which ones saw the biggest jump in effectiveness, and then which ones maybe stayed relatively the same. While they are certainly better than they used to be, some of them don't feel that much better, while others had a pretty big jump in how good they actually are. So today, we are going to be ranking every assault rifle in Cold War Zombies, and because of the loadout system, and you can change all the attachments on these ARs and whatnot, you can definitely make some of the weaker ARs a lot more effective just through the use of attachments, but we're going to essentially ignore that stuff for the majority of this video and just talk about the base version of each gun. So anyways, today we're going to be ranking all of the ARs in Cold War Zombies, and let me know in the comment section which your favorite one is. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like rating, subscribe if you are brand new to the channel and you have not done already. At this time, around 12% of you guys are currently subscribed, so if you're not currently in that club of the absolute elites, then make sure to go ahead and do that. But anyways, let's get into this ranking. It's going to be fairly difficult to do because some of them are so similar, but coming in at our worst spot on the list, I have to say, is the QBZ. Now, if we're going off the assumption that the weapon is fully pack-a-punched and is top tier rarity, then honestly, just in a standalone bubble, it's not bad of a gun at all. It's actually fairly consistent. Admittedly, none of the assault rifles, including the QBZ, are really packing the same amount of heat as something like a shotgun as in terms of its DPS, or even some of the tac rifles, or even some pistols. The AR class in Zombies now is being able to put out consistent damage over a long range and over a long period of time as well. However, with that being said, I always still feel like the QBZ is always at the back of the line in terms of this class. It's definitely the bottom of the barrel. There's a few key things that hold this one back. The QBZ has one of the slowest fire rates of all of the assault rifles, and that can be fine. You know, it's actually a pretty easy gun to control, but the slow fire rate combined with the not impressive or crazy amount of damage leads to just very, very slow times to kill. Without certain attachments, it also doesn't really have an impressive magazine size. It's not really got anything going for it. There are some ARs in the game that just have like one thing that it does extremely well, whether it's DPS or whether it's magazine. And you may disagree, but I really don't think it hits any of those bases, to be honest. The QBZ just falls flat in almost every regard. And again, in a bubble, it's not a bad gun, especially compared to everything else that you can get out of the box. But if we're ranking this in terms of just the rest of the rifles in the game, it's got to be of the lowest tier, and I don't think many people would disagree with that. But anyways, moving on and coming in just above the QBZ, we have the FFAR, and this has been one of my favorite guns in the game pretty much forever, since Black Ops 1 when it was the FAMAS, and then even in Black Ops 3 when it was reintroduced as the FFAR. It's back in Cold War, but I don't know what happened between the time of BO3 and now for it to not be quite as good as it was before. Now, I will say, in contrast to the QBZ, the FFAR actually has a few things going for it, and most notably is going to be its fire rate. And fire rate in weapons is really important in Zombies for a couple of reasons I really won't get into in this video. The FFAR almost has the opposite problem of what the FAMAS had in Black Ops 1, where it was a pretty high damage weapon with a really, really good fire rate, but it didn't hold a lot of ammo. And this one is almost the opposite, where it's got a ton of ammo, and it just doesn't deal the most damage per shot, and because of its super high fire rate, you're gonna melt through that ammo in literally an instant. Also, I've noticed with the base version of the weapon, or even just some of the lower tier rarities, it's not a good weapon in terms of recoil. It's very, very shaky when firing for a long period of time, so if you're kitting it outright on your loadout, you can manage that, and it's, you know, a lot more doable. But if you get one of the lower tier rarities, or even just using the base weapon, expect it to kick a lot. The base version of this weapon also doesn't hold a ton of ammo, so you really need to get attachments that extend its magazine capacity if you want this to be effective in any sense of the word. So it's definitely a step up from the QBZ because it has a few more things going for it, but it's nowhere near like top tier or even top of this list for that matter. Moving on just past the FFAR, getting into our like most mid-tier rifles on this list is going to be the Groza. So this one actually did not come with the game on launch. This was added a little bit after, and unless I'm mistaken, feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, there is no way to like naturally obtain this weapon in game via the mystery box or even off the wall. To use this gun, you do have to apply it on your loadout and then choose to stick with it, obviously upgrading its rarity and whatnot. So just by nature, if you're even using this weapon, you likely have the attachments on it that you want, as well as the ability to fully upgrade its rarities to the top tier. And after using this gun for a little while, it's actually become one of the better ones ones, I would say. The Groza's got like almost the best cross between a really good damage output per second, as well as its reload time and even its stability. It's definitely not the most stable gun in the game, and especially using the base version without any attachments, it's pretty horrific. And with this gun specifically, I don't know what it is exactly, but it feels like every time it pack-a-punches, it gets a huge jump in damage, like even more so than the other weapons. I don't know if that's just in my head or what. At the end of the day, I think it's one of the better choices for assault rifles in Cold War Zombies, but you definitely have to go out of your way to play with it because, again, unless I'm wrong, I don't think there's any way to obtain it in-game except by putting it on your loadout. So that is the downside. Also, at the same time, it's one of the most awkward-looking guns in the game, but I don't care how awkward or weird a gun looks so long as it's effective and fun to play with. But moving on from the Groza and getting into what I consider to be the higher tier rifles on this list, I'm going to give this one to the XM4, and this is likely the one that everybody started playing with, as I believe it's the very first gun you unlock. Now, the reason I'm putting the XM4 this far over the Groza is obviously the base versions of these weapons can be changed quite dramatically through attachments. I would say that the XM4 compared to the Groza sees a much more significant improvement with the use of the right attachments compared to the Groza. It feels like with that weapon, you're kind of putting on attachments to compensate for its weaknesses, whereas with the XM4, you're kind of complementing its strengths with attachments. At least that's the way that it seems to me, and it's all around just a really fun and satisfying weapon to use. Behaves very much like the Commando in Black Ops 1. The only thing I don't particularly like about this gun is that it seems like it does less damage to like armored zombies, so heavy ones, for example, or like manglers. It doesn't feel like it does as much damage as it should to armored enemies, and that could be completely in my head. But the XM4 definitely feels like it chews through regular enemies no problem at all, but when up against a heavy zombie or a mangler with armor, it definitely struggles more than you might expect. All around though, I would make the argument the XM4 is one of the most consistent rifles in the game, and you should have no problem, regardless of your preferred attachment setup, having a good time with it and then also having success. Moving on though, and coming in at the spot just above the XM4 is a weapon I didn't give enough credence to when the game came out, and I think it was because I was using like the base version of the gun, and honestly that base version kind of sucks, but this is going to be the AK-47, and I've really given this one a chance over the past like couple of weeks, and I really like it. The AK-47 is pretty much what you want in a game like Cold War Zombies. The way it's designed, it's kind of got the same similar slower fire rate of like the QBZ, but the other side of that coin is that you get a pretty impressive damage output per second, and especially when you consider the fact that it's fully upgraded. Headshots become completely devastating on this weapon, and you can kill things insanely fast. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, the base version of this weapon kinda sucks. It's very unsteady, doesn't have an incredible amount of mobility, and is honestly more of a burden without attachments than anything, but you know, when kitted out properly, and especially when put on your loadout and you've really fine-tuned this weapon, it can be one of the best guns in the entire game, period. The most important attachments for the AK are ones that are going to give you better mobility and allow you to, you know, stay on your feet a lot more. Hip fire accuracy on the AK is certainly nothing to write home about, but you won't really be hip firing in most cases to begin with. It should almost be treated like a precision weapon in a way. It's very interesting, but I've definitely come to appreciate the AK a lot more than I did when the game first came out, and I strongly recommend anybody who hasn't ran this gun in a while to go and use it and put the right attachments on it and see what you think. But anyways, guys, climbing to the very top of this list, and what I consider to be the best AR in the entire game right now is going to be the Krig 6, and I made a video a few weeks ago like ranking different weapons, and I put the Krig 6 extremely high on there because I genuinely believe it. The more I use it, the more I've come to realize it's just like genuinely a cut above all of the other rifles in the game currently. It doesn't even really need attachments to become good. The base version is fine enough, but it like those attachments just help to, you know, extenuate its actual strengths and properties. It's got both a very impressive fire rate and damage output per second, which again is seriously the two things that you absolutely want in a weapon in zombies, and for whatever reason, it also seems to be the weapon that falls off the the least dramatically as the rounds go on, because obviously as the rounds progress, the zombies are going to get stronger and get more health. The Krig 6 definitely feels like it can keep up with the rounds, whereas you may notice some of the other assault rifles really seem to fall off as the rounds get like past the 30s or up into the 40s. I don't know why that is exactly, but even before the assault rifle buff in Cold War, I still felt like the Krig was a pretty top tier weapon, but even after the buff now, it's got to be even higher. If you're a player that's particularly fond of assault rifles, the Krig 6 is going to be the one that I absolutely recommend if you're going to use it on your loadout. But anyways, guys, that is going to be my ranking of every AR in the game from worst to best. Let me know what you thought of my list, and let me know in the comment section if you have a favorite assault rifle, and let me know what your loadout and setup is, and I'll definitely go and try it out. And also just give some other people in the comment section some recommended tips if they don't have any that they're running as well. But once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like rating if you did enjoy, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I also do stream every single day over on Twitch. The link to that is in the description. I would love for you to drop a follow and see you over there. But have a good rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you all on the next stream or the next video. Take it easy. I gotta go, and peace out.